All right, let's go ahead and back this up here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Tank Talk. With me today is Captain of Forge and of Fulcrum Gaming, Nagatron. Here, everybody can actually hear say hello this time around.
Hello.
And also, we have still Soviet, who is here.
Привет.
All right, so sorry about the technical issues there. I just changed over some hardware, but we should be good now. Hopefully, nothing else will break on me. So starting out, we're just going to go over a little bit of the news. We've had a bunch of big posts on worldoftanks.com. First of all, it was, of course, April Fools. So there's always got to be something cool that came out. Last year they had the giant freaking German tank that was pretty cool. They had some good videos on that. This one was zombies, which I have a little video mesh for you guys of all the cool CGI scenes that they did with zombies that got me more excited than it probably should have. So let me go ahead and play that for you guys. Or my computer's going to break.
It just froze.
There it goes. It just took a second. Needs more like epic music to go along with that. But those CGI scenes with zombies were kind of cool, especially the mouse scene where he shoots the hole through the zombie and then you got the whole horde. And this I know it's like totally fake April Fools, but come on, you had to think it was like a little cool to have like Left 4 Dead 2 in tanks driving around running over zombies. You guys got excited about that, right? Just
Definitely.
the concept
I
of it.
actually haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
You didn't just watch it?
No.
No. Well, well, I'll give you a link to it later. It's really cool video. Yeah, it just reminded me a lot of like I was thinking Left 4 Dead 2 type scenarios where you're like on Himmelsdorf and there's like zombies coming out everywhere and you got to like get through and there's like infected tanks that you have to battle or something.
No. Why Himmelsdorf? Why not Runesburg?
That could be Ruinberg too. I was just thinking
Why not
Himmelsdorf.
Zoidberg?
There's lots of stuff zombies could come out of.
No. No. No, I liked it. I liked the Isle too being flying around with the zombie and shooting the machine gun and the guy on the tail
Yeah.
crawling up. That's pretty cool.
The rest of the video, 'cause you got like the chieftain and stuff talking and that hat. And then they also had like the moon map, which was completely unbalanced. So, what was the other one? Then there was the Star Wars one. I don't remember. It was like ATST or whatever it was. But kind of an.
ST2T,
I don't know
the
if it was.
sphere tank.
Yeah. I don't know if it was. It was, of course, Russian, because, everything overpowered comes out of Russia. Um,
Surprise, comrade?
but I thought it was still pretty fun, April Fools. They had some good stuff. I liked last year's a little bit better because the giant German tank was kind of cool. But then the other big news that we had this week was 8.5 tests is open. So we have a lot of new information on that. We were actually just streaming a whole bunch of 8.5 tests, trying out some of the new German tanks. We did not get on, I think, any of the new maps or the map changes. But so we have the big addition of new German mediums and some of the Russian lights. We have the Sexton from British. What do you guys think of the tanks so far? We'll get into a little bit more in depth on the next episode when we have more time for testing. But what was your initial impressions?
Well, we had like a couple of hours here that we were streaming these tanks and got into a couple of battles. The Leo one, the tier 10, is a bit bulky in terms of size, but decent overall, decent alpha, nice alpha damage there, and quick, very quick, gets up to speed, nice, does have that advantage over the T62A, it feels like. Other tanks, well, the Aufklaren Panzerpanther.
The really long
Butchered
German
that.
name.
That's a little bit of a disappointment. The Sexton is but wow, the shell travel time is so long that
Mm-hmm.
you gotta have like I don't know 20-second lead time or something. Yeah, at least that's how it feels,
It was
uh, and
ridiculous.
of and of course a short range on it too. So pretty much though, I think that the Soviet lights were a little bit disappointing, right, David? Like they're kind of so-so.
Yeah, I only got a little bit of experience on the T70 and the T80. I didn't get a real good run at the T80, but the T70 is just skip it. It's terrible.
It's got the weird like offset turret looking thing. It's like the
Yeah,
the hunchback of Russian tanks.
out of all the ones we played, I think probably the PTA, the Leopard PTA, the Tier 9 was really the best for its tier. And then the Tier 8, which I'm already forgetting what it's called, the Indian Panzer or something like that. That was pretty good. I felt like it needed either a rate of fire buff or an alpha damage buff to really be viable in tournaments, but it's certainly not bad. It's got a lot of good depression, a reasonably bouncy turret, and it's got an okay top speed, but the acceleration on it is not very good at all.
Yeah, I thought overall it was pretty fun. Like the most of the German ones we tried, the 8, the 9, and the 10 were at least really fun to play. Like we don't know how it's going to go competitive wise or anything like that, but I thought they were good tanks and they'll be fun to be able to play.
I think one thing is clear though: the Indie Panther is not enough for it to be used in at least the 7 versus 742 format tournaments. So
Yeah,
that we can probably say already with a pretty good certainty, unless it changes. Unless it changes.
yeah. And for those of you that haven't seen it, it looks like a low that went on the Subway diet. That's exactly what it is.
I don't know
Um,
about the Subway diet, dude.
what?
That's not a Subway
Haven't
diet.
you seen like the giant posters of the guy? They gotta be real, man. They gotta be real.
Nah,
All he did
nah.
was eat Subway.
All right.
Somebody would just lie on TV? Come on.
No. Other information we have coming out of that, so we had the maps. We didn't all get on it too much. I actually got some testing on earlier where I was playing around with the Russians. So we have Pearl River coming out, which when you first get on that map, it is just absolutely confusing. There is so much going on. After you've driven it like once or twice, it actually isn't all that bad. Even that initial like looking at the caps, you think it's going to be a little overpowered how they're set because one's next to a bunch of buildings, one's not, and so you think like artillery is going to be able to hit it too easy. But it didn't really seem that way. It seems like it's going to actually be a pretty fun map. I don't know how it's going to be competitive clan wars or tournament style. It's it's a small map, but it's a lot of driving around. Like it's a giant circle. It's still going to be kind of weird. So we'll see how that plays out. Put on Siegfried Line. There's like nothing changed on Siegfried Line. It looks pretty. That's the only difference. It looks a little prettier. And then there was Malinovka, which interesting. They didn't change too much on it, but they added like these giant rocks on the southeastern side of the magical forest, of course. So now it's a little bit easier to defend because there's some more rocks for you to hide behind, and then there's some more like near the city right by the lighthouse, or not lighthouse. What is that? It's a windmill. They added some more rocks there for cover, so um, not a whole bunch of changes. I didn't notice too much on South Coast. Did you guys see anything at all changed on it?
A lot of the terrain elevation was very different, especially going into the middle. So it
Yeah, I
looked like
think
from the south you can actually drive into that western town without exposing yourself nearly as much. There's a lot of higher hills to help cover you, but that makes getting to the middle trickier for the south because you had to go up and over this thing directly under guns. I'm
Or
not
you
too
promptly
sure. We
died?
only played it once.
Yeah, we'll have to mess around with that a little bit more this week when we go through more test stuff for next week's show. The other big changes to this, we're gonna have premium consumables, which will be pretty big. Although you guys agree they're kind of a little bit expensive. I believe they're 20,000 credits for each one right now, which is like a direct gold conversion. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's the right move. It kind of allows players to if they're if they're rich enough in terms of credits to actually use and run that the percent boost of repair skill, repair speed, and healing. I've been a big proponent of automatic fire extinguishers. So even with gold, they were worth it, especially if there's sales like the one that's coming up this weekend. But it's a good move. It allows. Teams that have not been, for example, on the Clan Wars map yet, to actually use the credits to buy up the premium consumables, and then go into the battle and have same level, equal playing field against the team that they're playing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the fire extinguisher. I mean, the regular one is, well, it's going to be changed to where it's 5,000 credits for that, and then you have a 5 second wait, or 20,000 credits, so 15,000 more, and you have no wait and a slower chance or a less chance of getting on fire. So yeah, you're definitely right there. That's something worth running around with.
Yeah, I mean, while they're expensive, the whole credit conversion is there to allow people who do, like Soviet was saying, clan wars or tournaments or whatnot, they can just buy a little bit of the premiums while they're running the tournaments and whatnot, so they're not at a disadvantage. But I don't think it's going to really increase the usage of them in pub matches unless people just have tons of credits left over.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have as much of an effect as premium ammunition, anyways. So it's not like it's a huge deal that they're becoming premium. It's just kind of bringing everything up to standard, I think. So yeah, it's good stuff. The other two big changes that I think will be good for the community overall is going to be 3-player platoons without having a premium account. That's pretty big. A lot more people are going to be able to play together and not have to worry about spending gold or money to be able to get those premium accounts. And they're also going to be able to make tank companies, which was also just a premium feature. Do you guys think that's going to change, like, how often tank companies are played now, with that becoming just a standard feature?
Uh, definitely, and I'm excited for this for the U.S. because we are known for not having tank companies at all. While in Russia, it's like a standard thing. Like, oh, you don't play tank companies? What? So I'm excited about that. That's a big change, of course. And platoons, even platoons, having that ability to form, a platoon with your friends and go into it, it increases the fun factor of the game for newer players, and it forces them to really kind of enjoy the game and keep playing. So that I think that people will go and play the game longer than average.
Yeah, 2 was
I think
definitely a
it's
limiting. Go ahead.
I think it's important for the North American market, or just all of them really in general. Nobody likes to lose, and in order to win in World of Tanks, you have to play as a team. So the more companies you get to play, I think we'll have more public match or groups just setting up team companies and then kicking people out or bringing people in, kind of growing clans inside of those and getting people more accustomed to working together, which hopefully will carry over into the random matches and just make everybody play better.
Yeah, definitely. All right, that's it for news, at least what's going on right now. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about tournaments. So Championship League starts this week. Woohoo! Very excited. They do have also the brackets up for, I think, the champions and minors. Here's a good look at it here so you can see how the point scheme is going to work out. Obviously, the people in the top are going to be at the top of the list there. You can see the line for exactly who's in the bottom 8 who will be going down to the minors at the end of the season. This is a pretty cool sheet. Hopefully it all works pretty good. I like the way it looks. Not as pretty as the European or Russian ones, but still pretty cool. This first week's map is looking to be Ruinberg. They actually have our full rotation of what all our maps are going to be for this Champion Pro League. So we're looking at Ruinberg, Steps, Prokhorovka, Ensk, Lakeville, Mainz, and Himmelsdorf. What do you think about that rotation?
I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, you start off with a map that's kind of half city, half field, and then you go into 2 field maps, back to another half and half, and then Lakeville is, I don't even know what to describe that as. And then you kind of finish it up there with Himmelsdorf, which is just all city, probably the only all city map in the game, really. So I think having the finals be on Himmelsdorf is kind of a smart move.
Yeah. Those are definitely the tried and true tournament maps, it feels like. We were watching a little bit of, I think, the European stream or the Russian stream. They're using a little bit more different maps, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. So the Russians start off with Mainz for their first day, and then moved over to Himmelsdorf. So Himmelsdorf was going on today. Interesting battles. Didn't catch all of them, but we're definitely going to keep an eye on that because it's always fun and interesting to watch that. Europe, on the other hand, was trying out something weird. I don't know if it was just because of their first day. They're trying to mix it up a little bit. But we saw maps like White Park make it into the rotation, and also Airfield. Out of all the maps that are out there, I was like, airfield, really? So I'm not sure if that's actually going to be if that was like just one of a kind, kind of a show match or something. But um,
Do you get an
White Park,
automatic win if you shoot out the airplane?
I I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anybody went for it, so everybody failed. uh, But White Park, we've seen White Park before on ESL. So ESL has already been using White Park as a tournament map. And I don't like how it plays. Personally, it's just kind of a 9-0 push, really, usually. And the 1-2 is kind of static. They have a scout in there. And it's very kind of campy map, in my opinion. So we'll see. I mean, I think maybe with the rework, White Park can become an actual tournament map. It has a definitely an interesting layout to it, but at the way it is right now, the dynamic is just not there, in my opinion. So
What do you
yeah,
think
but
about White Park and them, David?
Airfield in particular, no. I mean, there's already enough to handle with airfield with 15 players, let alone cutting it down to 7. Um, Wide Park, I can see that kind of going either way. I personally think here in North America that would be a extremely campy map for us,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of why I'm happy with our lineup, especially like I was saying Himmelsdorf before. I guess I should elaborate on why I think it's a good map to end on. Quite frankly, because as an all-city map, there's no gimmicks. You can't just come up with some strange lineup that people don't know what to deal with and then rush it at them. It's going to be, tank on tank, and that's what's going to decide it. Who's better at the actual maneuvers and who's better at playing their tanks. Um, and that's how I prefer tournaments to be in this game.
Yeah.
When you start playing really strange meta games with, camping and throwing in a Su-26 and stuff like that in 742, I think it really detracts from especially the viewing experience, but it's just too gimmicky. It's not something you can do over and over again. So you may get a win with it, but it's not quite the same to me.
Right, right. Cool. So I for one am looking really forward to this weekend and starting to get into some of those matches and really get the league going off. Um, so let's go ahead and there's some other tournament news that came up. We have the Battle of Berlin Challenge coming up, which has actually a couple interesting things going on with it. First of all, it's a Tier 10 maximum tournament. 5 players on Ruinberg with no limit, so we're going to have 5 tanks on 5 tanks. And that's a lot of variety that you can have on Ruinberg with no tier limit and 5 tanks. So you have artillery open. You can just go all tank rush to the city, which is probably going to be the more fun and probably the better option. um, so I really like that setup. What do you guys think? I think this is one of the more interesting challenges, at least in my opinion.
I personally don't really like competitions at tier 10. There's just so much power creep there. Basically, what I think this one is going to be is like 2 or 3 E100s, and the rest is going to be T57s or maybe 50Bs, depending on what the team is and how comfortable they are in them. I kind of think the 50B might be better in this situation to get in there fast and flank. But it's going to be alpha and autoloaders. People are just going to slam into each other, and really, maybe one bounce may decide the whole thing because at tier 10, that's not very common, so it's whoever gets the first set of shots off and whoever really finishes it up faster.
Yeah. Well, you also have all the field work too. Mediums could put some interesting dynamics in there too.
It is encounter, is it not?
Is it encounter? I didn't look that part up.
Check.
They keep switching it. I think the last switch was that it was just standard battle.
Mm.
I could be wrong on that one though.
Mm.
I'm looking at it right now.
The other interesting thing that I saw with it is
Standard.
standard. Yeah.
So I
Yes.
actually think that's a good
So
change.
field, yeah.
Because otherwise, encounter, they would just, everybody would just grab the biggest, most hit points and highest alpha tanks they can and slam into each other, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah,
But
and
with standard,
at tier 10 with that much hit points like E100s, it's going to be like, a big shootout, and then it's going to be people hugging wrecks. It's not as fun to watch as, for example, tier 8s. Those brawls are a lot more quicker and a lot more brutal, I guess. So good change, and will be fun to watch.
Yeah. The big interesting thing that I think with this specific challenge is it's the first time they're actually using a group stage first. So it's not just going to be everybody gets randomly seated into a big bracket, at least from what I was reading. They're going to have a group stage first, they're going to filter through, and then they're going to have a playoffs. This is the first time it's been used in a challenge or any of the I don't want to say lower tournaments, but they're below the championships. I think that's a good change going to that group stage versus just throwing everything into a bracket. What do you guys think about like that whole setup change?
David?
I think it's a good idea. You know, I've always been kind of a proponent of double elimination and whatnot. I still would like
Mm,
to see that a little bit more, but um, it's a nice way of kind of separating the wheat from the chaff in each group, you know, seeing who really put in the time, who's prepared, who's most cohesive and whatnot. So you're not having situations like we've had in the past where you have a lot of good teams and they face each other too early and, you know, the finals are kind of lackluster or whatnot. So
mm,
hopefully we'll kind of sort that out and then they can seed the brackets based on those results and everything should be pretty well in order.
yeah. So the other exciting news with this challenge is Mr. Soviet here and Barroom are going to be casting. Is it just the finals you guys are going to be casting?
No, we're actually gonna go through the qualifiers with probably Team Fusion. We have to get permission from the team captain to allow us to cast. So that's still being worked out.
Cool.
And once we do that, we'll go through the qualifiers, cast that live here on Fulcrum TV, and go into the playoffs with whoever we get as a team. So look out for that. And actually, later today, we'll be doing a test run of our open scrimmage here with Fulcrum Gaming and Team Fusion going at it, and me and Barroom casting it here on our channel.
Cool. Are you excited, nervous? First time casting?
You know what? I think no, I feel comfortable. Been doing it kind of in the streams. Hopefully, you guys that watch us regularly kind of enjoy that style of me kind of talking about the tanks, talking about the hit points that are what's going on. So I think I'll be well off. We'll see how the dynamic works out between me and Barum. I think we're a little bit different individuals, so it'll be a good. I
A
think
little bit. Just a little bit.
yeah. A little bit good contrast there, and I think that's what actually makes good commentating. So I look forward to it.
Cool. Very cool. So the last tournament news that we're going to talk about here is the World Tank's second anniversary. Fracas. Does anybody know how to say this? Fracas.
I've always heard it as fracas.
Fracas. Ruckus.
Don't ask me.
I keep thinking fracas like Battlestar Galactica. You know, they use it as a curse word. Frack this.
I think yeah,
No? Oh, okay.
different context.
So the big thing with this tournament, they're going to do, again, the three division setup that you can see here. So we'll have Tier 4, Tier 6, and Tier 8. And I imagine they're all going to be played at the exact same time, so you have to pick which one you're going to be in. Rewards are going to be higher for the Tier 8s, which I actually have listed here. So starting out at Tier 4, the rewards for first place are going to be 14,000 gold and a BT B2 740. I'm not actually sure what tank that is. I can't remember which one it is. And also a unique in-game medal. So that's kind of interesting, a nice little second anniversary medal. Tier 6 gets 38,000 gold and the Schmalterm, and Tier 8 gets 60,000 gold and the coveted KV5 that everybody's been whining and whining to get. So the big thing with this tournament that I'm seeing is we had obviously the big Rise of the Americas tournament where they had like the in-game badge. What do you guys think of using like tanks and badges and stuff like that as rewards for tournaments now? I know you were kind of excited last week when we were talking about the Tier 10 premium tanks. So what do you guys think about those?
Anything, I think that anything that gives more recognition and more coverage to those who participate in tournaments is a great move, and I want to see that develop more. Tank reward is a great little incentive. I think maybe some of the more serious teams that have been going at it for a while, gold is has kind of been yeah, gold is nice, but at the end of the day, that medal and that tank is going to be I think a bigger incentive for a lot of the teams that are playing in this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of people already that are going into it just for that KV5. Everybody wants that KV5 for the big tournaments coming up. So
Yeah, KV5 that 1780 hit points, the most out of Tier 8 tanks. It gets a lot. It gets used a lot on small on city maps in tournaments, and I can see why a lot of people want it. It went on sale in December, and I think a lot of people missed that sale. We were lucky enough to pay attention and actually get it as our team most of us have it. So
hmm yeah, so that's pretty good. That's all I have for tournaments right now. So we have a lot going on. I believe a lot of the registrations are ending now, or pretty quick here. So make sure you go to the World of Tanks website and sign up your teams. Get some of those prizes.
yeah.
They're definitely spreading those prizes out over a lot more places now, so you at least get something out of it most of the time. So
And that's one thing. That's a big prize in terms of gold. 60,000 is we don't see that often in tournaments. Yeah, smaller tournaments, even challenges. I think what are usually up to 25 maybe, but
yeah, this
not
one's
never 60.
26. Yeah,
Yeah.
this current one's 26.
Yeah. Okay. 26. But previous challenges were even lower than that. So
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, a lot of gold on the line. I was actually noticing this earlier too, with the big league things that I don't know if a lot of people notice, but every victory itself gives you gold too. And I think that's a really interesting incentive. So you theoretically, let's say you 3-0 a team and it's 100 gold per win, you just earn 300 gold just for playing. That's pretty cool having those like in between incentives. Don't you guys think?
Is it per game like that, or is it per round?
Per win.
Hmm.
It may be per round. You mean like per set of
Either way,
matches?
I actually heard that the European and Russian leagues don't have that, so
Hmm.
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, just more cool tournament stuff they're coming out with. I'm sure we'll see a lot more changes here. Let's go ahead and move on to some Clan Wars stuff. Not a lot of news with Clan Wars. They're obviously down right now. Um, for I think they said they were trying to like separate it from the portal, which is probably better for us in the end. But I think it's been down so often that everybody's just like upset that they can't play Clan Wars. Um, but it's good at least to see that they're trying to separate it out so we don't have downtime because of that. But the main thing I want to talk about today is so we've got the Rise of Americas tournament or whole thing done, and we have the European map up, and we have the North American map up, and we're going to be switching to just the North American map. And it's a lot different than the European map. What do you think about the North American map being so like just open? Like it's just wide open fields
Well,
of Clan Wars play.
you know, in my opinion, kind of the reason that people play static and camp on gold or whatnot is because they don't really have any other option. So I think North America is actually going to compound that problem. There's pretty much nowhere you can go where you don't heavily rely on allies. So diplomacy is going to be just as important as it was before, and that's because there aren't a whole lot of natural terrain barriers. You know, there's like lakes, and other than that, it's coast, and the entire middle of it is just a mess. If you paid attention to how the Russian or the European map works, everybody sort of grabs a foothold along a landing zone and they divide up the interior parts. That's going to be a lot harder with this map for sure. So it's really going to kind of depend on the gold values and whatnot in Canada and Mexico, but it's going to be kind of a diplomatic mess, which means that clans they're never going to be able to exist on their own because you can be attacked from all the different sides. So you're going to have to make allies. Those alliances are going to get pretty big because you know you can't take three clans and shoehorn them into one natural terrain area. Each clan has to have its own allies on every side of it, and then builds and builds and builds. So, we're probably going to have some pretty stagnant map play for a month or two at a time, followed by some sort of giant war to overthrow whatever alliance holds things.
Someone's
It's
drama is gonna overthrow somebody else's drama.
it's it's going to be strange and it's going to be different, and I think it's going to be kind of more extreme on both sides. The wars are going to be larger, but the camping is going to be more widespread at the same time.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little worried about it. That it's just gonna end up with there being a lot of combat on like near the landing zones, which there probably isn't enough landing zones right now. And then just like a big glob of people that it's just too much effort to fight each other. So we'll just not do anything in the middle of it.
And that's pretty much how it works. I mean, it's a pretty common question is like, why does everybody just sit there and sit on their gold, right? It's like, well, as a battle leader or as an officer, it's on you to put all 15 people in the battle, and even the best guys, it's still like herding cats because nobody really wants to spend 10 minutes, getting ready and doing all that, but you have to make them. So all this effort falls on a few people, and then they don't want to do that all year long.
Mhm.
So unless you have a clan that's just full of battle leaders and officers who are willing to put in all that effort, you're inevitably going to need to camp at some point.
Yeah, there's no pause button, no break. Like we want to take this weekend off. You take this weekend off, and all your territory's gone. So you're kind of stuck with it there. It'd be nice if they at least took a look into adding some kind of natural barriers. It's kind of hard because there's not like, I guess, a lot of ones that really fit into it, other than the awesome mountain range that Colorado sits in. But
Not unless
you
they
know,
put in rivers and stuff like that.
yeah, which don't almost make as much sense as it was in Europe when you had the ocean and stuff in the way, something like that. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our gameplay discussion of the day. Um, so mods, we've been getting tons of questions about mods, which ones we all use, which ones we prefer, what are the best mods to get, what mods shouldn't be around, all that kind of stuff. Um, and mods are kind of an interesting thing. They affect gameplay in such varying ways. I mean, what do you guys think of mods? Is it a positive thing that they're so open right now?
Um,
You want to take
I'll,
off with it?
yeah, I'll take off. So this is actually coming directly from our streaming, and a lot of players always ask, "Hey, Soviet, why aren't you using this mod? Why aren't you using XVM and so forth?" Uh, I think right now it's definitely good because we're seeing the community develop a lot of interesting ways to improve the UI, improve the game experience. XVM, I don't think we would have had such an awesome built-in tool if it wasn't for the influence of XVM on the community and how well it took off and was received. So the developers, I think, are paying attention to it, but I think as the game matures more and more, we'll see more restrictions in place on certain mods that become that force the game to be uneven. So if one player is using, for example, the zoom out mod right now, and the other one isn't, that's quite a bit of an advantage. Being able to see around the corner, being able to see if the turret is turned, while the other player is not able to do that. That introduces unequal play in my opinion, and turns the game kind of uh, not in the right direction. XVM and other mods, they're great. My opinion on them is I'm a very minimalistic player, and of course, we participate in tournaments, and that's one of the reasons why you see my client as close to vanilla state as possible. But the graphical user interfaces, I think, are awesome. The stat mods, the Yes and Krasin mod, for example, that keeps track of your session, keeps track of all the stats. The stats are really there, kind of to keep the chat going, keep the conversation going, and the voice mods. The voice mods are also pretty neat. I think we will see more English voice mods that improve the game, make it a little bit more humorous, perhaps, or more serious and to the point. Um, we will keep the tournaments clean, equal, and then also kind of perhaps take care of some of the mods that make the game unfair in random battles, and I think the game will be getting better overall if that happens.
Now, I know you're not as minimalist, Nagatron. What's your take on all the mods? Because you put together like a nice little pack all the time, and I abuse the heck out of it. What do you what do you think about them?
I think a lot of them should already be standard. I think there should be a lot of different types of contour icons, those things that you see on either side of your screen. I think they should be supported by the game, and you should be allowed to switch through them. But then there's a lot of other maps. There are a lot of other mods that just shouldn't be there at all. The ones that remove bushes,
Hmm.
hitboxes, I'm kind of either way on. I think there should be some more readily accessible resources that kind of describe all of that. We try and do it at WattPro. It's very, very hard because it's hard to find all the module data. So if Wargaming were able to give us those locations, then we'd be able to kind of dispense them to everybody else pretty easily. But I'm kind of on the fence with those ones. But then there's stuff like there was a laser beam mod that puts an addition to your model, so you could see wherever somebody's turret was pointing at any point in time, whether they're behind a wall or not. There's a lot of other mods like that, some that show render ranges and view ranges on the minimap. I kind of like those right now because I think the render range should be all the way across the map. That just boggles my mind. View range, not so much. There's time to target and traverse indicators and time to reload. I think all these things should be actually kind of necessary. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're in an actual artillery, and I don't want to go too far down the line of realism because you can't really divide it in World of Tanks. You know your traverse, you know what angles you're at, up and down, and all these things. And those are really important if you're firing an artillery. The angle that the round is leaving is the angle that it's coming in, and a lot of that stuff would make artillery easy to play, which I think is a good and a bad thing, which would probably require a balancing of artillery after that. But all in all, I think there's a lot of mods that improve the game and should be incorporated in the game, especially the reticles, because the in-game reticle drives me nuts. And the server reticle, a long time ago they changed it, so you either have the server reticle or the regular reticle. Before that, you could have both. And I think it's really important to have both because the way the network is right now, my ping fluxes up and down by 40 or 50, and either reticle you use is lying to you. When I have the two of them, I can put a moving target in between the two of them, and you know that you're actually aiming in between the two. So it's kind of a really complex answer, and it depends on the mod. But I think they should crack down on the ones that provide unfair advantages and embrace the ones that don't.
What? Just a counter question here for Nagatron. What do you think about some mods, for example, the DAR artillery, kind of take away from the skill of the player, though? If one person is using DAR artillery while the other one is not, I feel like the one that's not using DAR artillery is, in my opinion, more skilled as an arty player than the one that's using DAR.
It definitely takes more skill, but everything there is calculated off stuff you already have. Like time to target is actually just a function of distance. So if you go into a training room and count it out and just get used to, this distance takes 1.5 seconds, you have it in your head anyways. All those things are there. Like your artillery angle, how it's coming in. You can see that by how the reticle is shaped. There's a lot of stuff like that. It's already there, so you just have to learn it. All this does is make it easier. So for that, what I would say is for reticles at least, they should determine, it would be best if Wargaming determined what they want players to have and what they don't, and then make it so you can only install the approved mods that have to go through some sort of system, and I don't know the coding behind it, but there would be a way to verify if it's one of those, and then just exclude everything else. So it's either approved and easily installed through the game, or you can't have it, and that way you would differentiate, what's unfair and what isn't, according to Wargaming itself.
Yeah, I think like that mod specifically, there's a drastic difference between a bad artillery player and a good artillery player, or even an average artillery player and a good artillery player, and that's just who's played more games to know this is how long it takes my shell to travel this long. This is what my arc is and all that. And I think a really good learning tool would be that this is how long it takes my shell to travel. This is what my usual traverse is and all that. And I think that's one of the problems with artillery right now. Because I mean, everybody hates artillery because it's point and click, but when you get an artillery player and they're bad, I mean, it's infuriating.
It shows.
Yeah,
It
it
shows.
really shows in the difference in the battle. But they don't really have, other than just playing it a whole bunch, they don't really have a way to learn those things. But if I know, this distance is going to take me 5 seconds to land there, okay, I can count this out. I can learn to lead targets a little bit easier. I think it takes a good player to really recognize those different variances.
That's one thing, in my opinion, right now that separates a lot of the North American servers, especially from Russia and Europe, is that the RD players on North America are a level below, in my opinion, right now than what they are in EU and RU. One of the reasons could be because we don't play tank companies a lot in US, so RD players don't get enough practice. Random battles for RD are not very good because you never know. You never know what kind of team you'll get, and you just get shot in the beginning by a scout, and that's it. So
am I going to get protected? Who knows?
yeah,
Or there's the whole problem where you have, you queue up and you either have 4 or 6 already on both sides. And it's like, well, then you only have, 9 targets to shoot at, and they're all camping because they're terrified of the 4 artillery. So do you really get to shoot? Do you really get to practice? No. If it was limited down to 1 or 2, and you kind of bring some artillery into more appropriate lines, cough 203 millimeters, cough, all of them, S51, Su-14, 212, and M4043. Tone that down. And then, you can only have two of them, and
Hmm.
they'd get all the time in the world to shoot them.
Yeah, I gotta say that the more so I play artillery a lot in pubs and going through, and the less artillery there is, the better I do, the more fun I have, because people are less inclined to just hide the entire match, which means I get a lot more experience trying to shoot things, and I get a lot more out of the match compared to, 4 or 5 artillery where I'm just sitting around hoping that I'm the one that makes the shot on this guy that's not moving behind a rock. I definitely think it's better the less we have for the artillery player too. Um, so sticking with mods, on the tournament side, they're going through and they've got like essentially all mods are banned in pretty much any tournament that we play in right now. Um, what's your kind of
Well,
take on that?
that's actually not official as far as I know in the US yet. I haven't actually
Oh,
heard anything from our esports guys, but in Russia, they're taking very strict measures towards that, and a lot of Russian teams are already not playing with mods, and I don't think they would love. They would use mods anyway, just because they're already used to it. They don't want to break that. You can easily get used to some reticle or some counter or something that's improves your gameplay, but at the same time, once you take it off, it affects your gameplay significantly in a negative way. And you come to a LAN or something. We kind of got exposed to that in our first LAN tournament at New York national qualifiers for the WCG tournament. I think a lot of our players were kind of felt out of a little rusty because of that, because of some mods missing. So it's a good move. I think US is a little behind right now with that restriction, but Russia is pushing ahead with it.
Yeah, a little tougher when we have all these online tournaments for anything. It's kind of hard to. Hey, Patton. Hi, the back of Patton.
I was like, what is growing out of my shoulder? Oh, it's my
What's
cat.
going on over there? Patton's just chilling, joining the show.
Yeah.
Um,
Patton needs more buffs.
it's like,
Sorry,
what's
go ahead.
up? What's up? Um, Man, I just lost totally where we were going with all that. Tournaments and no mods. Yeah, there we are. Um, yeah, I think it's a good thing. I would very much like to see wargaming incorporate a lot more stuff that's useful. What I would like to see is stuff like simple UI improvements, being able to like move things around like you have in like most standard games, like Dark Age Camelot and dare I say it, like World of Warcraft. This isn't an MMO. This is an FPS, but it's still. I know. I said it. It'd be
I
nice to
can't
be.
believe it. I can't tank talk and we're talking.
I. It's still got World of in it, but that whole idea of being
Maximum
able to like
frown.
reskin and move stuff around, like you don't need to necessarily have all that extra functionality that they're tossing into stuff. If you can adjust things to make them look nicer in your own unique ways.
Here, here's my opinion on this. You have to have a fine balance between customization, the ability to customize the client, and simplicity. So I think sometimes when you have a game come out, and this is talking in general, the whole gaming industry, you have games that come out with such overwhelming customization ability in terms in the client and so much stuff going on in the game itself that it becomes overwhelming for the player to learn, and they might just tanks being free to play, you have really a small room to hook the player to the game, right? So if the game if the player comes in, plays a couple battles and says, oh, I don't like it, that's it. We lost a perfectly good player that could have went in the game long and become a big member of the our community here. So I think it's good that we have minimalism in tanks, but we're seeing even in 8.5 now, we saw the little addition of tank icons on the top that you can still turn off if you don't like. So I think they're moving into that direction, but they're still trying to keep it simple,
Yeah.
which I think is a smart choice.
I guess that's one thing that we had that interview with Clutch last Saturday, and he was kind of talking about that a little bit, where the overall UI and like the starter screen and everything is just way too much, and like totally confusing for new players. So I guess I can kind of see where it's coming from, trying to keep that minimalism to make it sure that when people just start out in the game, they know what the heck they're doing
Yeah.
in some way. All right, so that's it for topics for today. Let's go ahead and queue up a Q&A. Let's see if Hugo was useful at all and gave us any questions. I don't think he has.
Questions are just having trouble escaping his super tight shirt.
Can he get out of it?
Well, here I'll pick up real quick on Rora's 6. He just said that I almost gave up on tanks for the exact reason. Soviet me, of course, uh, just said 25-ish battles in, and he almost quit. I actually did as well. I actually, after my first battle on my MS1, of course, the Soviet tank. I was in Pagorki back then, close beta. I came into the game. I didn't know what was going on. Got killed, and it was very kind of disappointing. But I guess my competitive nature kind of kept me going back to the game, and then of course, kept going with it through the beta until now. So it's very important, and I think their working tutorial was a big step. The introduction of some sort of artificial intelligence for especially training is going to be a great way of teaching newer players to come in and keeping that game simple, and yet you can expand on it as the player progresses through the tutorial. One thing comes up, hey, here's your mini map, here's your damage panel, and as he progresses through it, new things pop up on it, and he tries to learn and understand every single icon and what that means. I do. Okay.
Relics is just jealous of Soviet's silky smooth skin.
Hmm. Hmm.
That bright green's so hard to read. 48%er swag lord. Okay. Um, wow, that's hard, man. It starts out you've got to have a team of people that are willing to stick it out while you inevitably fail several times. You're going to be playing teams that are very cohesive, and it's really easy to outstrat somebody and then lose because they played their tanks together better than your guys did. Um, so, for us, one of the most important things I think we've done is we basically, as bad as it sounds, we kind of became isolationists in the sense that we pretty much only platoon with other Fulcrum guys, and that's made a huge difference for us. We're very much more comfortable with how each other plays, and I think that's probably one of the best things you can do. Other than that, it's a whole lot of intangible stuff. It's how you make your strategies and really player talent. So that's probably the best answer I can give you.
Cool. Let me go through some of the questions that Hugo grabbed. Hopefully, yeah, everybody should be able to hear me now. Um, if we bought a ton of fire extinguishers on sale, can we sell them at the new price in 8.5? But if there's a price increase, won't the new half price be higher than it is now? That's actually a good question. I'm curious if, because it's going to the credits, how much did a fire extinguisher sell for credits now? I don't know.
No clue. No clue. Never
I'll have
sold
to look
one.
that later. That's not a real good
Wargaming
question,
has a
Hugo.
history of at least shutting that down. If you're trying to
Yeah.
like buy something to sell it later, I mean, there was a lot of tears about the last time people tried that. So
Yeah.
if you do discover it, don't talk about it. Make the money on your own. Hope it sneaks by.
What is the Tier 10 premium tank? We actually don't have a lot of information on that yet. We know like what the designations of them are, but only super testers can play around with them. We're working on getting something with that, so hopefully we'll be able to stream something soon with super tester stuff to take a look. Da, da, da,
Here's a
da,
cool one.
da.
I just dropped it in. Jung Laden. Jung, yeah, Jung Laden. I forgot. How different are other server player bases? How was it playing teams from different servers at WCG? Did they have play styles different from you guys that you had to adjust to? Either you want to tackle that first,
Um,
because I can run with it. It doesn't matter.
Well, first of
well,
all, how different? or this other server players' bases, it seems like we all played very differently. We had like the C teams played a little bit more campy. It felt like at first, but they're a lot newer to the game, so you kind of figured they're going to play it a lot more cautious. And then you had like the Russian and European teams who played stuff quite a bit faster, I think, at WCG. Russians definitely played it a lot faster than anybody. They had like a real good idea on what they were doing with that. Um, and the Europeans, I felt like the Europeans were a lot closer to how we played. Maybe not like the North American server in general, but how we were playing there. But I don't think they're. I think they're again kind of like catching up to the Russians being as fast. What was the second question there? How was it playing teams different servers at WCG? I thought it was very cool. What'd you think? Soviet?
I I thought that our encounters, especially in the beginning of the WCG, were quite shocking in a way that we weren't prepared for certain teams, we weren't prepared for certain styles because we're so secluded here in the U.S. But then we adjusted, and that helped us. Actually get to where we got the third place victory for us. That was a big accomplishment, and I think we as a team cherish that a lot. So in terms of I think one of the big contrasts was the C server. I think was a lot more defensive, even more defensive than Europe and us. Europe was a little bit more aggressive but less cautious, which cost them a lot of times. Russia was the best out of all. They actually knew what was going on and they would act on a dime, and that really in tanks, being able to make that decision and just go with it and have that decision being right. That comes with a lot of experience, and we hope that we will elevate our game to that level eventually, especially with the major league starting here in the United States.
All right, let's see if we have.
Um, One thing on that, I think
Oh,
uh, I think one of the biggest differences between all the different teams really just boil down to comfort level, experience, and fear. I've seen the Europeans play much more aggressive than they were during that, but from what I understand, they weren't too used to seeing our strange 2801 lineups. And quite frankly, if I were on the receiving end of that the first time, you know that those things hit hard, and that's kind of freaky, you know? So you don't know what to do. So you kind of just play it slow and try and play reactionary, and that gets you in trouble. Russia, on the other hand, they were just totally comfortable. They're almost cocky to an extent. Some of the things they did, in my opinion, well, obviously they won. Some of them, it was like that could have gotten you in some serious trouble if you didn't play your way out of it. And that wasn't just against us. Like they got themselves kind of a pickle against Wave Knight a couple times in their first set against them. That's China.
Yeah.
Um, and I just thought that was a little bit strange, but they were so comfortable with it. I guess their tactic was, well, let's be aggressive, let's capitalize on their fear, and that really paid out for them. Meanwhile, the C server, the Southeast Asia server, they were a little bit slower. I think that's just kind of because they're new, they're just getting started in the tournament scene, so they camp a lot. We went through the same phase, and we're still kind of in it, starting to come out. Depends on who's playing who, really. Um, but Europe, I think they were just kind of unsure what to do with us, and each other at times during WCG. I think if we played them again, it would be a much different outcome, or well, maybe not a different outcome, but be very different
different play.
dynamics is how it went down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's tackle just a couple of questions here. That way, Soviet can get over with Barroom and get himself prepped for casting. So I have kind of a combined question here from Mr. Felby and Rory Six. Um, Skill-based matchmaker in terms of bringing it to a 50-50 win chance as opposed to keeping bads with bads and goods with goods. Do you like the concept? I personally, I'll start off with that. I really don't like the concept of a skill-based matchmaker. I don't think it'll go over well. What do you guys think?
First question, counter question to that is, what is skill? Skill is such a right now. All the models that are used to describe skill, so to speak, they always get either renewed, something changes. They keep changing them all the time. We're what, a WN7 now, which is probably the best one that we can discuss, I guess, in terms of a metric. But even that is very kind of. It depends on what tank. It depends what how you're playing that day. So it's like yeah, I agree that it's not a good idea, and it should stay as it is. Maybe some adjustments in terms of which tanks get into which battles, and of course the arty balance that would improve matchmaker.
Hmm.
If they were to do it, they would need to do it based on whatever stat they choose. Win seven's the best right now, but it would have to be per tank. It can't be player overall. That's a terrible idea.
Hmm.
But either way, I think it's a terrible idea. What's going to happen is you're going to get twinking, which happens in every game. So you're going to have people who deliberately drive around and just get themselves killed, drive into the water, et cetera, et cetera. So their stats go down. So they get to go play against people who have lower stats, so they can just freestyle all over them basically. And you're going to get the opposite spectrum where people pad their stats, which is already just such a huge problem.
Hmm.
Um, and well, not really a problem, but people do it a lot. It's a,
Happens a
it's a
lot.
big thing.
Yeah.
So you wind up on a team, and the guys who are good stats on your team, they're fake, and the guys who are bad stats on the other team, they're fake. And then, well, great, you just got worse matchmaking than you've ever seen in your entire life. So really, right now, I just don't. I think it's an awful idea.
I will say on that, so they have the new tank companies that'll be coming up, which will be based on the pro format. So that's the 7v7 42 points. And they were talking about having a rated system in that. Now, that I would be okay with, especially if they added some kind of reward system based on like how well you're doing in that. But I don't think it should like affect. If it negatively affects queue times, it's going to affect who's in it, and that's a big issue. But for just like standard matches should just be I join a random server and I play like any other like FPS game. Um, doesn't matter if you're the best person on the team or not. It just you want that instant gratification of joining a match and having a blast shooting tanks. Um, so yeah, that's my opinion on that. Do we have any other questions? Da, da, da. We'll give it 5 more minutes, see if we can catch anything else on here. Something about your lovely patch on that sort of.
I
You can't call
sense
that a beard.
relics jealousy all over here,
It's not a
man.
beard. It's not a beard if it just covers your chin. I think that might be it for questions today. There's somebody that asked what headsets we use. We're all using the Astro A40s, which are absolutely phenomenal. I highly suggest them. I break like all of my technology. I break probably like on a monthly basis. David can tell you how many like Logitech mice and keyboards and like everything I go through. These are like high quality equipment, and I break them constantly. These Astro A40s, I don't think I'll ever break these. These are just like super quality. It's all metal. I really love these headsets. This is the best investment that I've probably ever had in any kind of peripheral.
I agree. I agree. The mix amp is probably the best feature out of the. I mean, the quality, of course, but the mix amp, the ability to have multiple sources, and also you can hook up your MP3 player. But we're not
Yeah.
sponsored by them yet, so
You
let's not.
you can also nerd out and like David will show you. Yeah, we got some nice plates for like our own logos and stuff
Yeah.
because we're super nerds. We're pro nerds. I think that might be it. All right. Well, we will just go ahead. Do you guys know where the leopard line starts? Don't they shattered like that entire line, didn't they?
Yeah, 3002D. So 330.02D is where it starts. And so if you have a 3002 DB right now, you will be in the right path to the Leo 1. Check out we actually, before the stream, we had our test server run. You can check that out. Or you can check our stream, follow us, and we'll be streaming some more test server runs, I'm sure, this weekend, tomorrow. So just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and don't go anywhere. In 15 minutes, we're gonna have a live practice with Fulcrum Gaming versus Team Fusion with Soviet and Barroom casting it. So stick around, definitely watch us play. Should be some good times. Of course, follow us on Facebook /Fulcrum Gaming or Twitter. youtube.com/Fulcrum Gaming. I will try to get this video up on our YouTube channel, which is Fulcrum Gaming TV. And yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll do this again next week. We'll have some more topics. We'll go a little bit more into patch 8.5. I'll give you a little bit better impression on each of the tanks and the map changes and all that. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks again for joining us.
Пока-пока. Take care, guys. See you later.
Words. So many words.
Are we all there?
Yeah, I think so.